So good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here. My name is Sharon Custer, and I am one of the team members at Miami University with the Ohio School Wellness Initiative. And I have been working on the staff wellness side of things for the last few months and really have gotten to know Joyce better and her program, and I'm just excited to be able to share more details with you. I know that we started with more of the student side of things for the first few months, and now that we've gotten a lot of that underway, it's definitely time to spend more energy on our side of things. So I do have my grad student, Emily Lichty, is here. If you're like, why are there 3 panelists? She is going to be monitoring the chat, taking notes. If some of you are like, hey, that would be really helpful, I'd love to have that, you're welcome to put that in the chat, and Emily will be sure to share that as well. And Emily, if you want to turn your camera off, you will not offend anybody. I'm not savvy enough in Zoom webinars to know how to just make sure it's Joyce. I'm going to turn it to speaker here soon, though.
Thank you.
So before I introduce Joyce, I just want to say too, I will be the first to admit that I was a little skeptical when we were asked to do this with our state leads. I kept thinking, the world feels like it's on fire right now. And maybe I know we're joking around, it's -21. It's also under ice. But I just kept thinking, what are we going to be able to do to really make a difference, given all of the stressors that are happening in education in general pre-COVID, and then you add all of the other components of COVID. The staff shortages, the illnesses, the worry about what teachers can and can't say in buildings anymore. And I just kept thinking, what are we going to be able to do? And the more Joyce has taught us, the more I realized this is definitely doable. If we can work on changing the culture in our classrooms and in our buildings to say staff wellness is a priority, and not just eating well and exercising. And it's not just about, hey, here's a donut to say we really value you, but looking at everyone holistically and saying that we need to promote wellness across all of the domains that Joyce is going to talk about today. We can get people to a place where we can manage these extra stressors and we can forge forward and we can work together. So that's why I'm really excited that you're here to listen to what Joyce is going to share, to think about ways that your buildings can do things different. And we're also building a really strong team across the whole state. We even have 4 more people who asked to join as of yesterday to be facilitators in this role and to support the schools. So today on the call, I know we have different people serving different roles. We have some of you that are wellness champions. We have several of our facilitators and affiliates aligned with Ohio School Wellness Initiative and our partners. Many of you are school administrators and leaders and mental health providers. We've invited some of our leads. I haven't had a chance to go through all the participants, but some of our colleagues from Ohio Department of Education and Ohio Department of Mental Health will be here. And we have members of our Miami team. So definitely excited to have such a range of participants. Please use the chat as much as you need. We are doing this webinar style instead of meeting style, so you don't have to worry about muting your microphone or what you're doing. If people can see you eating or sipping your coffee this morning, or if you're at home and have a kid jumping on your lap, all of that will be behind the scenes. So I am really pleased to introduce Joyce Odidison with Interpersonal Wellness. As you heard, she's up in Canada, so her work is internationally known. She works with a variety of different professionals and is supporting our work in training us to be facilitators who can help you navigate the changes that you want to make within your building. So Joyce, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to stop my video as well and let people listen to what you have to share today. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that welcome. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Put in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Put the high five emojis. Tell me, how are you doing today? Good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Great. All right. So today I want us to talk about Wellness 101. And often when we hear about wellness, we hear of different things. But I want to invite you in with me. Step back and visualize the week before Christmas. And this woman comes into my building and she says, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you because my son is different at home. And that makes our home different. That makes our family different. I am looking forward to Christmas dinner and getting together with our family and larger network this year. Now, I'm going to tell you, this woman is the mother of one of the children in the special needs school program that runs out of my building. See, several years ago, we bought a building, dilapidated building, and I refurbished it. And this program, they approached us and say, we want to rent from you. We love the atmosphere you've created in here. We are looking for something just like this so we can help these children. And where I live in Canada, where I am here in Manitoba, is considered to be treaty land. This is the traditional land of the Canada Indigenous people and the heartland of the Métis Nation. And a large percentage of our population are Indigenous, Canadian Indigenous people. And then we have the Métis people who are part French and Indigenous. This is the homeland of the Métis people. And in Canada right now, we have a huge focus on the reconciliation for the Indigenous people and recognizing how they've been left out and mistreated. And I tell you this because most of our programs and our schools and our child welfare system is around the Canadian Indigenous people. They make up a high percentage of it. So in this program, there are a high percentage of Indigenous children, but there are also children from other races. And this young man has been coming to school, and when he started in the program, he was very shy. He wouldn't talk. He would pace the hall back and forth. And I've looked over the year in the program, looking at the teachers and talking with them, supporting, encouraging them, and looking at the transformation. And that mother came in and she was so grateful. She had cookies and she had baking and she wanted to say thank you because her home was now different. Her son was different. And as a result, her home is different and her family is different. So when we talk about staff wellness, when we talk about school wellness, we are indeed talking about the external impact, how it will impact everyone that is going to be in the network, everyone connected and everyone that's part of it. School wellness can impact families and it can impact, it's not about can, it does impact families and it does impact communities. You see, what that mother had seen was a reawakening of her son because he was now in a safe place. He now felt safe to come to school. His teachers were in a relaxed environment. They were being respectful. They had the support system to think and care for each other and support each other. And that was passed on to the students. And that was being felt at home and to the broader community. So what we do have impact. It's a ripple. And I know you as educators already know that, but I just wanted to share my story with you. You see, in communities of the past, it was built around a place of worship, a community center, a schoolroom, and a post office was the core and the hub of societies. As we've moved more into a nuclear family and moved more into industrialization, we have still a need for these basic structures in our society. And school has always been part of that because training and preparing our young ones to be the leaders of the future is actually one of the most important things we can do because that's how we as humans continue on. That's how we pass on knowledge. That's how we pass on learning. Home, school, and community are all connected. And as we think about this, we will think about the integratedness of our well-being and how important it is for us to ensure that staff wellness, school staff wellness, assures that there is a healthier learning environment for the students, happier students, reduced stress for families, and more resilient communities. But that doesn't happen magically. We have to have some key components in place, and we need to do the work. And that is why I teach the Wellness Improvement System and went on to create the Wellness Facilitator Program and the Wellness Coach Training Certification Programs, because I have come to learn that when we think of wellness, we have to think of it holistically. We need to see wellness. When we look at an individual wellness, we need to see that all elements of their lives need to be well. So what you're looking at here is the Wellness Improvement System model. This is a model I created when I encountered a lot of turmoil and conflict and dissatisfaction and bullying and harassment and lack of psychological safety in the workplace. I created this model as a response. In response to what I was encountering as a conflict analyst, as a trainer, as a coach, as a workplace wellness facilitator, I was continually encountering a lot of dissatisfaction, disquiet, and unwell at work. And this model allows me to give you a framework on how we can start improving what's not working well. You see, we have all these elements in our lives, but they can be there and not work well. They can be there and actually work on the reverse as a deficit. When we're not taking care and improving how well we are in those areas, they actually start to deplete on our own well-being, and we are actually running on a negative. So those are some of the things that we're talking about as wellness facilitators. As I provide the training for your facilitators, you're going to learn some of the things that they're learning now and get an insight as to what they're learning, and some new things that I'll be sharing here as well that will give you more context of what they can bring to your organization and how they can support you through this program. Now, something to note with this pilot program is that I am going to be present and available throughout the entirety of the program, allowing me to support the facilitators, train and certify them, but also to provide that additional support for the facilitators and their schools if and when it's needed. So as the subject matter expert, I can problem solve and I can help you to move things along further and answer some of the bigger questions around the well-being of the schools and the staff. So a little bit about the Wellness Improvement System you're seeing here is that it takes a 9-dimensional focus around well-being. So we start off with the spiritual wellness. Then we look at social wellness, emotional, occupational, intellectual, environmental, financial, physical, and interpersonal. You see, I'm a conflict analyst, and that's how I came through this whole lenses. I look at everything through the lens of our interpersonal dynamics. And through this lens, I have been taught all of these other things which I'm sharing with you today. So when we look at spiritual wellness, to unpack it, I've noticed that a lot of people get really scared and worried about spiritual wellness until they delve into it and see when we talk about spiritual wellness, we're looking at things like self-esteem, personal style. We're looking at things as vision, purpose, culture, core values, belief, balance, religion, faith, value alignment, hope, trust. And then we talk about the competency that we need to develop here is the integrity of the person, because you see, embedded in all of us is that integral part of who we are that's unseen, unheard. We cannot see it with our eyes. We can only experience it, and that's the spirit self. All of us have it. And we bring part of that to work every day. When we talk about the spirit of work and the spirit and culture of the workplace, that is fed by all of us, each of us who go to work every day, each of us who participate in the workplace. And if we're not taking care of that part of us, our self-esteem, understanding our values, what we believe in, our purpose on this planet, why do we show up at work? What is our purpose? What is our intention? The things that keep us integral to our values and keep us focused and intentional in spite of the other temptations or the other challenges or things that are pulling us away, in spite of the internal conflicts and the external conflicts we face. That is where integrity comes. It is the true essence of who we are, the thing that we cannot separate. Integrity moves us back to the root word, integral, meaning one, oneness with who I am, consistency, understanding myself, my self-worth, my self-value, what I bring, my purpose, the outcome, the vision that I have for myself as part of the school culture, as part of the school staff, community. This actually is one of the most important aspects of this dimension because of the entire system, because it is what we bring, it is how we fill up ourselves that allows us to contribute to the conversation, to the policies, to make changes, to be able to bounce back when things are tough. You see, one of the other elements over here, one of the other dimensions that we focus on is intellectual wellness. And in intellectual wellness, we look at things like accountability, reliability, knowledge, critical thinking, time management, good decision making. As administrators, as leaders, you have to make good decision that impacts the psychological safety of the people in your school building and their community. Because what happens? I usually say what happens at work impacts what happens at home. But it's the same at school. If the child have a poor, unhappy day, they're going to go home miserable. It's going to affect the parents. It's going to affect the siblings. So everything has a rippling effect. And when we look at it that broadly, it behooves us to say, what is my responsibility? How do I take responsibility? You see, the next dimension after spiritual wellness is social wellness. And the competency in here is responsible communication. In order for us to have good, healthy social networks, we have to practice responsible communication. Responsible communication, the onus of it is our communication or interaction or communication should not cause harm. And if at any point we realize that it caused harm, we have a responsibility to address it, to remedy the situation. So what is my responsibility? How do I practice responsible communication? It's thinking about what I'm saying, thinking about the impact, not just right now, how it makes me feel. You see, most of us speak about based on our feelings and how it makes us feel after we've spoken. But responsible communication, it begs us to go deeper, to say, what would be the impact? What would be the long-term impact? What would be the harm? How would I repair this possible harm? And then that, my friend, gives us the framework for our communication. It helps us. It gives us the courage to go back and say, this is not quite what I meant. Can I rephrase that? From this context. So it gives us opportunity to fix the errors that we've made. And it encourages us to take responsibility to do that. I won't go through all the dimensions today because I'm doing that with the facilitators, but I wanted you to get a bit of an insight into what they're learning. The other part of what we're doing, so this is how it all started, really, with this model as a way to create the connection around that could help my organizations and employees to see what their interactions were causing and the illnesses that we're recognizing based on, people having headaches, people having to take time off work, people getting sick, people's immunity running down, people getting bigger sickness, larger, more complicated illnesses from the stress and the overwhelm, mental health, burnout, all of these things. And the response to this was the wellness improvement system, recognizing that we are interconnected and everything we do in our life will have a rippling effect in one of these dimensions. And so we need to pay attention to our wellness. And so from here, we started looking, so what does that mean? How do we know how well we are? And this moved us into the wellness assessment. So behind this, what your facilitators are learning is how to assess how well one is doing in each of these dimensions and how to interpret the results of the assessment. And then we're going to be able to do an analysis of how well you are, what you're experiencing, and how we're going to improve that. So not only are we looking at the individual wellness for the staff in the organization, we're also looking at the organizational well-being. Because if you put clean water in a dirty vessel, the water becomes dirty. It doesn't stay clean anymore. So from there, we look at the wellness competencies because that helps us now to get some kind of way to start developing. So the wellness competencies that we've pulled out from the wellness improvement system allows us to look at all these competencies as a way to improve, because competencies can be measured. You see, they can be improved by coaching, by awareness, by feedback. We can develop and improve our competencies. So that's part of what we're learning to do and part of what the facilitators are learning to understand. And the coaches too, to some extent, because we have two programs. We have the coaching program and the facilitator program. So the facilitators are getting to understand what coaching is about, not necessarily becoming certified, but they're becoming certified facilitators with an understanding of how the processes work to support staff wellness in schools, in organizations. From there, in the wellness facilitator training, we go on to understand the neuroscience and the connection between of the wellness integration, learn to host wellness conversations. And so from here, they're learning the wellness conversations that they can come back and have with you in your facilities to help you to get people engaged and to start understanding the broader concept and the interconnectedness of well-being, so that they can start facilitating their individual wellness, but also have that vision of a place of work that's well. As they do that, then they're going to get people ready to start participating in the facilitation of their own wellness, assessing how well they're doing as individuals to be able to know where they need to improve, where they need to focus attention. Because as busy professionals, we get so focused on one area and we forget the others. So it reminds us to take a broader scope and to not let our health and wellness run, deplete in one particular area, but that we are taking care of all. Then they're going to learn to implement wellness strategies and tools in organizations, how to do wellness surveys, how to do wellness audits, how to start helping the leaders in facilitating wellness. Some of the courses that they're doing include career illness and transition, recognizing that many professionals in the workplace now are unfortunately experiencing illnesses. And how do we help them to transition from illness back to wellness? Creating that wellness mindset coaching, help them to understand what it means, personal wellness and self-care, micro improvement strategies. So those are some of the pieces that we're touching on in the program. Then we talk about workplace wellness, how to make wellness part of the everyday work experience for employees in the workplace. Staff should be in a place that's well. Support leaders to make the changes and to embed wellness concept and wellness terminologies in policies and procedures and in practices and in decision making. What we're seeing right now is a lot of bungled decision making, making decisions that are causing stress, causing harm, and having to backtrack. It doesn't matter what the policy says. The policies have to be interpreted by people who are practicing intellectual wellness, people who are using good decision making, folks who are thinking critically about the impact, folks who are practicing responsible communication, recognizing that my actions and how I execute this policy is going to have an impact, and I am responsible to ensure that my decisions do not cause further harm, increase stress level, and promote an environment that's not psychologically safe. Support employees who are struggling. Employees have lives, they have communities, they have families. They may be facing death in the family, illnesses. That's just how it is right now. And we have to be prepared. Develop a workplace wellness strategy unique to your organization. Each of you are going to have a workplace wellness strategy for your staff that is unique to your organization. The well-being of your staff is not going to be a replication of what's happening in another organization. Each organization is unique and has its own culture, has its own work spirit, and we have to work with that to transform and to expand and to integrate wellness into what you're doing at work. And remember, as I said earlier, wellness comes in the spirit of wellness. It comes in the communication of wellness. It comes in the emotional feeling and expectations in the workplace. It's felt through the occupational wellness, the decision, the leadership, the management style, the career advance opportunities, the resources that are available. All of that is part of the wellness at work. The intellectual wellness, the decisions that are being made and carried out, the critical thinking that needs to be put into that to ensure that we're not causing harm in our workplace and adding needless stress to our staff. It's very, very important. I see too much of that. You see, one of the things that we see when we go into organizations is that some of the symptoms we're seeing are policy violations, unaddressed issues, low stress, low trust, high suspicion. Everybody's out to get each other. Everybody's watching their back. Nobody feels safe here. I got to watch my behind. I never know, these policies could come back to hunt me. And when a new policy comes out, everybody's on tender hooks because they don't know how it's going to impact them. It's like the people who are making the policies forget that it's humans that has to experience it. We need to start building in wellness into the infrastructure of our organization and our work with others. And so throughout this process, we see very ad hoc response to harassment, bullying, psychological safety issues. In Canada, the Canadian standards for psychological health and safety provide 13 standards, 13 pieces that we should be looking at. And one of the first one is organizational culture. And that relates back to trust, safety, honesty, that aligns with integrity to our first competency on the spiritual wellness. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we're rolling that out this year and some of the things we're doing and the other opportunities there are to participate and to keep learning, because I believe we've spent so many years dismantling our wellness. The learning cannot stop. We need to continue learning on how to fix it. Otherwise, the next generation is going to have a lot more work to do. So as we move up, as we start to look at no strategy, ad hoc, as we start to implement the wellness improvement system, we start to see, when you go down to the left, we start to see implement wellness plan. We start to see people moving because now they have a clear path through which they can work, they can be engaged, they start having hope, they start seeing positivity, and they tell us, for the first time, I'm starting to think that there is hope, that things will get better. And as we do this work, we see so much more. Yes, thank you for putting the standards in here. There are so many aspects to it, and we'll be exploring it more in as the wellness facilitators. I teach a lot on those standards because they've been very, very helpful, and they came out in 2013, and I've been doing this work since 1997, and it's just amazing to see how we've evolved. When we are ensuring staff a school wellness experience, we want to make sure that there is psychological safety at work, that everyone feels included, everyone is heard. When we talk about being heard, we go back to the whole concept of consensus building. Consensus means that everyone has had an opportunity to express how they feel and how they will experience this. It doesn't mean that we agree and we're all going to implement everything that we heard, but that people are heard. There is a sense of well-being that comes from having a voice, of being heard, and knowing that you're valued and your input is well considered. It doesn't mean that it's going to be executed upon, but there is well-being that comes from knowing I have a voice. I'm going to be heard, and I'm going to be respected. I'm valued. That's all part of psychological safety in the workplace. Experience positive workplace culture. Leadership is a huge part of psychological safety. Feeling supported, feeling engaged, feeling safe. Those are important elements. So we're not just looking at wellness and tell you go work out, eat good, exercise, and get good sleep. We know we've done far too much damage in our society to expect that that's the all and all. And this is the roadmap we're following. And I'll walk you through that later so you can get a sense, because we're coming into your institution from this point. We're going to start off with wellness conversations, getting people excited about being well in all the dimensions, not all at the same time, but an awareness that all of these dimensions are important. Usually when I start a wellness conversation, I say, if you don't have one of these dimensions in your life, please put your hand up, because you're either a robot or you're on the wrong planet, right? We all have those dimensions, 9 dimensions in our lives. And this allows people to engage. You know what employees tell us? This makes me feel like wellness is about me and my well-being. Because one of the biggest issues about staff wellness programs have been lack of participation. Employees were not participating because all they were doing were these surveys and screening and assessment. That was not about them. It was all about, they said, I feel like a robot. I feel I'm just being studied to create statistics for my organizations. Nobody wants to be a specimen, right? Except it's going to really help them, right? That's why we give up the specimen when we go to a physicians, because they're going to tell us what's going on with us. But to just be seen as a, I'm going to give up all of this information, but how does it really come back? And so many of the wellness programs have had low participation, have had lack of buy-in and low engagement, because it's not about the people. And so our approach is very different. Our approach is about your people. Your people are your organization. If you had nobody at work, if there was no one at work, you wouldn't have an organization. So let's get back to the nitty gritty of things. Let's come back and recognize what happened when COVID-19 came about. We shut everything down because we realized for the first time in history that people are the organization. There is no organization without people. And so I think COVID-19 was the great equalizer. It helped us to recognize what's important, although we're starting to forget, but it helped us to recognize what's important. People are what is important. So your wellness system or your wellness program or your wellness strategy in your organization should be about the people, making people well, because when your people are well, your organization is going to be well. They're going to bring a healthier spirit to work. They're going to practice better responsible communication. They're going to be practicing self-mastery, being more emotionally resilient. They're going to be more engaged. They're going to have more capacity for learning and growth. They're going to recognize the interdependence. They're going to be more innovative, more vibrant, and therefore more resilient. And those are the 9 wellness competencies we've expanded and we teach. But I'll come back to this slide later. One of the other things that we do is look at the corporate structure. Because yes, we have these big, huge institutions and all these policies and procedures that weigh us down. And you have said, Joyce, how do we put wellness into this? Well, I've broken them down with the 9 dimensions and help you to be able to see how you can start implementing wellness into the structure of the organization. So part of what we do is look at integrity. So that goes back to the spiritual wellness, right? That's that dimension of wellness, integrity. When we look at the health and safety, right? When we look at psychological safety, and we look at well-being and the wellness competencies, we're now marrying them into this process. We look at integrity as part of the corporate and employee reputation. The purpose and vision of the organization should have a backbone that's steeped in integrity. Integrity should be part of that. And this is how we help you to look at what is the vision statement of your organization? What is your purpose statement? Can we add integrity to it? Are there words already in your purpose statement that relate to trust, honesty, that we can come back and say, okay, let's pull that up and make it more visible. Let's now engage our employees in conversations on how integrity, safety, trust, honesty is good for their well-being. And we as an organization stands for that. Then we go over to responsible communication over here. And we say, how do we bring responsible communication into our organization? We say, look at your management strategies. Look at the cultural competencies of your organization. And is responsible communication embedded in there? Then we help you to comb the language so that it could be in there. And then we tie it. Sometimes we put it in your newsletter. Sometimes we share it as part of a newsletter, a blog, Instagram posts, social media posts, talking about how our organization is committed to responsible communication in a collaborative management. There's a course that I teach. It's called the Collaborative Management Blueprint. I've been teaching this course for years and years, and we have managers and supervisors from all over North America and the Caribbean who come into this course. So it's sort of like a core competency course. And they take this course so that they understand what it is to be collaborative and to lead collaboration in their teams. And that, my friend, is part of the responsible communication. It helps to create a different perspective, a different mindset, because your people are not going to magically know how to do these things. You have to educate them. You have to give them the tools and the resources. And I'm always surprised at the feedback that I get from this course. What the participants are saying. Oh, I had no idea. I didn't understand the synergy between participation and collaboration and engagement. And it's unbelievable. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, but that's simple. And then I had to remind myself, it's simple for you, Joyce, because you teach it. But it's not simple. It's not common knowledge. And we think, and it's a basic common sense course, but it's had such a powerful impact on the people who come into this program and teach it and learn it. And it helps them to be able to facilitate collaborative dialogues with their teams and with the people that they supervise. And every time I teach this course, I think we teach it over 3 or 4 semesters a year. And I'm always amazed at the feedback and how much they learn from this course. And I keep shaking my head and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to keep teaching it, right? It's an on-demand course at this point in time. And I engage with the group through online dialogue and then bring them together for a session. I think either 1 or 2 sessions, but most of it is it's an on-demand course. And I'm always amazed at how much they get from it, because it's not common. And I'm learning more and more every time that it's not common knowledge to have these things embedded in the organizational structure, or to give the staff the structure and the skills to learn it. Then we go into the whole emotional part of work. Everything we do in life has an emotional aspect to it, because humans are such incredible creatures. We've been given emotions to help us to decipher what's happening. You know, if something is wrong with your brain, if your brain isn't functioning well, you won't know that you've burnt your hand. You won't feel the pain. Somewhere, someone in the creation of the human being decided that we need to have emotions to allow us to experience life. And so we talk about self-mastery, and we talk about the psychological safety and the psychological well-being, because the aspect of psychological safety is all about how we make people feel safe at work, the feelings that come up. Part of that is leadership, right? And we delve into that. What kind of leader do you need to have in an organization that's practicing wellness? What do your leaders need? You know, I always remember there was one time I was working with a bunch of leaders, and I challenged this leader. I said, you need to provide XYZ to your employees. And she turned around and she says, why? Why should I? I don't get it. And I was shocked. I was like, when did leadership become about what you get? It's about what you give. And I am by no means saying as an organization, you should not take care of your leaders. You absolutely need to take care of your leaders, because they are leading your organization, hopefully, through the process and with lenses of well-being. Because what happens when your organization is not led with wellness in mind is the burnout, the resignation. What are we facing now with COVID-19? Mass resignation, sick leave, stress, overwhelm, burnout. Teachers have the highest rate of burnout. And you're asking, why? Well, maybe there's some more work to be done. And maybe we need a broader lens around wellness in education for teachers, for educators. Maybe leadership is an area where we need to ask, what are our leaders doing? What is their sense about wellness and psychological safety? How are they leading it? So fostering an environment for mental wellness is a big part of the self-mastery. And we have lots of tools that we bring into that. The other piece that we do on engagement is the leadership, the relational leadership. And we've been teaching this course for years. It's teaching leaders how to relate to the people they lead. Did you know that a lot of leaders don't know how to do that? How are you going to have psychological safety when you don't know how to relate well with the people you lead and to facilitate well-being and good relations among them? Where leaders are not pitting people against each other and creating more conflict and tension in the organization, but do understand how to facilitate dialogue and to collaborate and to bring people together. Practice relational leadership language so they can facilitate healthier workplace. That's all part of staff wellness. Interdependence, we come down to. When we look at interdependence, we're looking at the corporate and employee interaction, respectful workplace, diversity, inclusion, social responsibility. How does your organization recognize its responsibility to the community, the social connection, that social responsibility that's part of it? That inclusion, diversity, the respect. How do you address harassment and bullying and your zero tolerance? I know here in Canada, we have our health and safety regulations. We also have our human rights regulation. And I know you have something similar in the US as well. Part of that is ensuring that it's built into the well-being and the conversations and the policies. Most of our organizations have respectful workplace policies that aligns with psychological health and safety. This is not a one-stop thing. You just tell people, practice self-care and it's over. You've done your part for wellness. It's an integrated, interrelated part. And we cannot get there if we're missing one arm, one part of it. We're going to be lagging. Let's move over to resilience. When we talk about resilience, we talk about the interpersonal and relational well-being in the organization. We talk about positive vibration. We talk about a sense of belonging, empowerment. We look at employee assistance programs that are robust, that provide employees with the counseling, the support, the coaching, that provide other support they need for their well-being, making sure that they have what they need, the healthcare. And your healthcare system is different from ours. We have universal healthcare here in Canada. Everybody can go to the doctor for free. But your organization have to provide that, making sure you provide the best that you can for your employees so they feel that you're there for them and that you're giving them what they need to bounce back when life happens, because life is going to happen. We're all going to age. We're all going to have issues. We're all going to have things. My husband is a healthy, robust man. He went to work, fell. He's a police officer, was going to do an arrest, fell, hurt his arm. Now he is due for surgery. This was unforeseen, unexpected. Accidents will happen. So we have to think about those things. How do we set up our people to be? One of the courses that we will be doing in the facilitator program is the career illness and transition back to work. There's a huge mindset piece to that. Right? Let's go up the ladder to vibrancy. When we talk about vibrancy, is the physical activity and nutrition. Most of the labor relations law and legislations should be addressed and should be compulsory for your organization. And not just in your policy, but as part of the regular interactions of your organization. Then we should be looking at encouraging people to eat well, to take care of themselves, nutrition, care. And then, of course, innovation, corporate financial strength, transformation, change management. When is it time to change? What do we change? What makes us more innovative? How do we get those classrooms to function better? What do we do? What kind of technology? What's new? What's innovative? Those are important conversations to have when you're robust and healthy. They become stressors when you're not as an organization. They become one more thing for people to do. It becomes work. People become fearful of change because all the structures are not there to support the change.
Joyce, we have a couple.
And then, of course,
I'm
I will get to that. Let me finish this
Okay,
last one,
good.
and then I'm going to go to the chat. And then we have capacity building, which is the last piece I'll do on this slide, is the continuous learning, the culture of accountability, the culture of good decision making. It's recognizing the actions we take and how they facilitate an environment that's thriving. So that is the piece on the organizational culture. And I'm going to switch over to the chat section now. And I love the chat. It's just, I think it's just the most powerful part of online learning. And were there any particular questions you pulled out that you wanted me to respond to?
There was someone with a hand up. I think it was Jose, but I'm not sure if they're here anymore. But if that I missed that and there was someone else with a hand up, please jump in. And
Yes, please.
really the only other question I'm seeing right now is, will we have access to this PowerPoint so that we can use these charts?
Well, you are recorded. This is being recorded. Who wants to use this chart? And is the facilitators?
It's Connie, so I'm not sure. Are there specific?
Is Connie part of our facilitator training group?
I don't believe Connie's one of our facilitators.
Okay, so then the answer is no. This is something that our facilitators are going to, so some of the facilitators will have their own template for their wellness conversations and their facilitation.
Okay. Yeah. So the facilitators will have different resources. And when the facilitators are coming into your buildings and talking about the trainings that you want to do for your staff or the supports that you need, we certainly want to, give you what you need that's appropriate for the different levels. So we'll work with Joyce if there are certain things
yes,
need to happen. So definitely.
Yes, this is not for everybody. Not every organization or every leadership is going to be ready for this level, right? I'm just doing a broad overview here of what we offer for staff wellness. And this is just a stats on some of the research that we've got and some of the finding, the optimized productivity, building relationships that enhance trust. And so we're seeing 50% increase in safety, people feeling safer at work, 30% less absenteeism, 40% higher product quality, and of course, increased resilience and trust is continually a factor. When people are feeling safe, the brain has one responsibility, is to keep us alive, safe, and well. And when the brain suspects that is not a reality, it thwarts everything else. We don't learn as well. We don't function as well when we don't feel safe. And I think somebody had asked me, one of the facilitators had asked, why is integrity aligned with spiritual wellness? I hope you've seen that now, where it comes in. It is such an instrumental part of the spirit of work, because if you don't have trust, if you don't have honesty, if people are not feeling safe, then we shouldn't even be having a conversation, because everything goes to the wayside until we start feeling safe. If you go back to Maslow hierarchy of need, it talks about food, shelter, safety. You can't go to those higher levels until people feel safe. And that's where we start. One of the pieces that we do is we do provide the Global Workplace Wellness Summit. These were all part of the things and the communities that we've built around to support the work that we do here for the, around wellness and organizational wellness and workplace wellness. One of the things that I'm doing this year is spending a lot of time on wellness competency teaching. I just released, last year I released the textbook that the facilitators are using now, and it's on looking at the inclusive wellness competency teaching. So pretty much every week I am teaching and talking about wellness competency teaching because, as I said earlier, we spent decades, what am I saying, centuries, depleting our wellness to bring us to the state where we are. I remember when I was a little kid, I knew, oh my God, I knew one woman, one person I ever knew who had cancer. Now, I've had several members of my family who've had cancer. And you see, as we move along in time, the diseases are becoming so commonplace because we've spent so much time depleting how we should live and work and be well in our society. We need to start unlearning and relearning new traits, new ideas, new frameworks, so that we can really get back to a place of health and well-being. So one of the things that I will do, I'm going to skip this one. One of the other pieces that I've done, and I mentioned that I will talk a little bit about it here today, is the Global Workplace Wellness. It's a community of practice for wellness practitioners. Each month, what we do is we spotlight a dimension of wellness with learning events, activities, resources, speakers. We do heightened and elevated wellness in this dimension, making it easier to promote wellness in life and work, creating new tools, looking at best practices, and we invite wellness practitioners from around the world. And this is our monthly piece because this is our 5th year running the Global Workplace Wellness Summit. The summit is happening in Winnipeg in September when it's nice and warm. And after the 4th summit, the feedback we got is that people didn't want to just do this once a year. It's too important. They wanted a community where they could practice, where they could keep learning. And so the tagline for the wellness community is where the learning never stops. And we keep exploring and going deeper into these dimensions and into the competencies to learn more, because there is so much that we still have to explore, so much we still need to learn about well-being and the everyday little things that impact our health and wellness that we've been ignoring, that puts us smack dab at a place where we are now becoming ill in so many different ways. Every year they're finding new diseases, and you're like, where are they manufactured from? They're manufactured from our lifestyle, the things we're doing and the things we're not doing. Wellness isn't all about what we add on. It could be from what we subtract, what we add, what we do, what we modify. And that's what we keep doing, massaging, finding, and making ourselves open to learning more. So when we talk about the learning never stops, is that recognizing the centuries that we've spent learning how to diminish our well-being we need to spend more time learning how to fix that. Every thought, action, behavior, exchange, or interaction has an impact on our well-being. What we see, what we listen to, what we tell others, what we believe, what we act upon will shape our mental, emotional, physical health and wellness in every dimension of our life. And we have taken this for granted. Every day there is a new thing for us to listen. Every day there's a new thing for us to see. Every day there is, really. And we've forgotten about the impact on our well-being. We've forgotten how important it is to have rest. Even sleep has become negotiable. Can you believe it? Sleep. Humans, before electricity, we woke up with the sun and we went to sleep at sunset. We have the same DNA strand with all the new technology and all the innovations that's come along. We have the same DNA strand and we keep adding more stressors to it. So what's going to happen? It just becomes weaker, right? Weaker and weaker. Next generation, weaker and weaker, more diseases. When COVID-19 came about, it says only those with weak immune systems, like the elderly, should worry. Well, I'm sure you know some people who got sick, very, very ill, and some who died, who we didn't consider to be elderly with weak immune systems. What a surprise. And then you ask yourself, what are we eating? What are we feeding ourselves? Do we actually know what good nutrition is? Those are all the questions that come up. Those are all the things we start to think about. What thoughts are we harboring? Suicide has become so high in our schools. Our children are killing themselves. It's scary. It's unbelievable what we have done to ourselves over the centuries. It's not that these things didn't happen 100 years ago or 200 years ago, but they happen in so small, such smaller quantities. Now they're becoming mainstream. And the impact that it has on us and our well-being and our thought processes and our sense of safety, which keeps our brain on alert and our anxiety levels up. And then our immune system is too weak to protect us from disease. There are two programs that we have. It's the Wellness Mindset Coaching Program, and then we have the Wellness Facilitator Program. So all the facilitators are getting some coaching courses that helps them to understand the difference between coaching and facilitation. And then those who want to become certified coaches can do, but they all follow the same theme, looking at the person as a whole system. Whereas the facilitator program is broken down into individual wellness and then looking at the corporate wellness and how we're going to make wellness holistic in the organizations. So some of the things that we look at in coaching is exploration of thoughts, developing curiosity, providing emotional support, mental resilience, clarity and focus, active listening, therapeutic conversation. Coaching is not therapy, but conversations are healing. So coaching conversations are therapeutic conversations. And then, of course, this is the piece that we do at the wellness, the community of wellness. So I mentioned that we have a community of practice. What we do each month is that we spend, so the month of January, we were exploring integrity. And we do that through Clubhouse. I do a LinkedIn Live, but we actually come together on Zoom and talk about in that group elements of integrity and trust and honesty and well-being and how they interrelate and how they form and dislodge and where are the gaps and how can we, what are the innovative ways and how can we shift things in our organization. And this is what we're seeing in our organization. How can we shape things? How can we influence wellness and integrity back into the conversation on wellness at work? Next month is February. We're going to start on responsible communication. So you're welcome, whether you're a facilitator or not, to join us in the community of practice because that's open to anyone. The facilitators have their own program. This, though, is outside the facilitator program. So if the facilitators want to participate in that, they would have to make extra time to facilitate. All of this is not built into the program because the program structure is there already. And they have a very, very detailed curriculum. So we try not to overwhelm, but these are fluid and you can pop in and be part of a conversation. So each month, what I've done with this is to break it down into, you notice that we actually are revisiting spiritual wellness in October. This is where we're going into the corporate integrity and vision. So we're going into the vision of the organization. And then we go into, I think there's another one that we expanded as well. Let me see. What's it called? Interpersonal. We've done it twice. In September, we do interpersonal. And then in November, we go into forgiveness as we get into going into the holidays and ending the year. What do we need to release? And in our relationships and in our well-being, and we get into some of the research behind that. And if you get to know me, you know I'm a learner. I'm a continuous learner. I've never stopped learning. I'm always researching and learning new things and sharing. So this is another piece that's overarching, and this is part of the community that I run and what we do. The other piece that we do is bi-weekly. We come into that practice and we talk about it and we teach. As I said, I do this weekly, but we have the meetings that happen. In there, we actually try to personalize some of the micro improvement strategies to the various organizations and what they're doing. January, I said we did integrity. February, we did, another thing that we did in integrity was separated from personal integrity and professional integrity. And then, of course, the corporate, as we talked about earlier in the diagram, we were looking at the organizational culture. So that's another piece of it. And then we do breakout sessions that help us to define. So we would do the definition, then we look at what does it look like, how does it apply. So not only are we looking at the professional, but we look at some of the corporate pieces as well. So this just gives you a little bit of an overview of what we do. And we're going into responsible communication as we move. And in March, we break into self-mastery, very much as you see on this piece. So one of the things that we also do, we have a lot of resources. As I said, I've written 6 books. These 3 books are the textbooks that are used for coach training, our wellness facilitators. So all the wellness facilitators should have these books, and the coaches in their repertoire, those are the readings that we use for our training. And let's talk about next steps, because you're on here because your school has signed up, or your community has signed up, or you're part of, or somehow you are a champion to staff wellness. And we call it workplace wellness, staff wellness. They're all interchangeable in my world, because we can't have staff wellness without the organization itself having a culture of wellness, because we would belie the subject by saying the staff should do all the self-care and come into an environment where they don't feel safe, where responsible decisions are not being made, critical thinking is not being applied to some of the policies and strategies in the application that will make them feel unsafe. So yes, self-care will help you be able to come back into mindfulness and do some of your own meditation, will help you to release some of the burden you're carrying. However, we do need to ensure that the organization itself have a culture of wellness. So next steps are you ready to do something different in your organization? Are there any elements of what we've done here that you think would be viable to your organization, that's galvanizing you or inspiring you to change in your workplace and in your organization? Then if so, certainly let us know how we can get you started. If you're tired of losing people, or all the people you love to work with, right? From burnout, from resignation, from illnesses, mental health, all the different diseases that are impacting cancer, all of these diseases are becoming so much more prevalent in our workforce today. And we have to redefine wellness in the new world of work. And I think our world is going to be a post-COVID and a pre-COVID. We're going to come to that place where all our language and our lingo is going to be pre and post-COVID. And I've been teaching this long before COVID. But now that COVID has come, it has put a greater urgency in us to do more, and a deeper awareness and a much broader application to the importance of wellness. And so if you are ready to move on, and you're tired of this illness and burnout and stress, and you want to create a place where people enjoy work, where people can come to work with an expectation of safety, well-being, togetherness. Humans are designed to live, work, and be in networks of healthy relationships. People are not supposed to be, positive psychology tells us that if you are in a negative relationship, it will deplete your well-being. We need relationships, we need communities, but they have to be healthy communities. Otherwise, they cause stress. They put our brain on alert. We're always unsafe, feeling unsafe. Our immune system cannot function to do the work that it needs to do to protect us from disease because we're always in an environment of stress, always on alert, always protecting ourselves, always wondering what's going to come, or if our leaders care about us and are going to protect us. Can we do better? Absolutely, we can. Are you ready to participate? Tell us in the chat. What will happen from here is I'm going to go back to our model that I shared, our roadmap, is that the facilitators will schedule you for your wellness conversation. They are learning that, and I'm here to support wherever they need some support. And then get your people into your wellness assessment. Then we move into the wellness audits. Then we move into the wellness competency teachings. And it doesn't mean that we cannot move these along. They're not written in stone. We have all of these elements. We can do one before the other. They're designed that way because they work a lot smoother. This way, when people understand what's happening, when they understand, when they are engaged in the conversations and they've done the assessment and they have a sense, it's a lot easier to do the wellness competency plan and the teaching, the mindset teaching, and then to have the activities. If you already have activities in your organization, then we roadmap them to align with the various competencies as I've done before, so you can see what you're already doing. We use a concept of appreciative inquiry. We look at what you're already doing that's good, and we say, you are already facilitating wellness in social. You're already facilitating wellness in intellectual. You're already facilitating wellness in occupational. So let's tell people that. Let's put it up in your social media. Let's tell your employees in your newsletter. Let's send out an email and let people know all the things you've been doing that's pro wellness already. You see, sometimes you're doing those things. There's something about awareness. Awareness promotes responsibility, and responsibility promotes action. So if you're doing and you already have wellness activities going on, but they're not aligned with a dimension, or they're not aligned in a structure, we'll help you to structure that. And we'll help you to conversation around that and to promote that and to engage your people around that and to let them know this is why we're doing this. It's for your well-being, because we care about making this a safe place to work. Those actually have a lot of impact. And that is something I've noticed many organizations are not doing, and something that we all need to be doing in our organization is look at what you're doing and celebrate the things that you're already doing. Because I believe every organization is already doing some aspect of this, but what they lack is maybe the framework or the context to share it and talk about it and promote it and to help the employees to see that we are on our way of creating a wellness structure in our organization. All right, time for questions.
So I do want to check. I'll be honest, I'm not that well versed at webinars. I'm really good at meetings, but Jose, it says I can allow you to talk. Your hand's been up. So if you want to share what you wanted to ask.
Absolutely. Jose, how are you doing? Does he have, you can unmute and tell us what it is you wanted to say. Jose, are you still with us? He probably isn't. Okay.
That's okay. All right. Well, I'm not sure if I can, how to get him off the screen, but are there others who either want to raise their hand or use the chat? I did see, I think it was.
So we have lots of stuff on here. So I'm just going to go through the chat.
April had a good comment about safety and security and the impact that it's going to have on the strike. I do want to share, Michelle had asked everyone, it's okay to share the list of participants who's here. So, from our standpoint at the High School Wellness Initiative, we do want to reach out to the people who designated as facilitators in your regions. And we have roughly 3 per region. And, we have roughly 10-ish pilot schools per region. So each facilitator can easily work with, 3 or 4 schools. Some of you are already working with them very closely. And to say, we want to do something different. We're not sure exactly what that might be yet. And that's what the facilitator's job is. Joyce is working with us on how to develop those assessments with you at the building level. If there are individuals who want to get more involved, Emily's done a fantastic job in the live binder. There's lots of different assessments and resources for individuals who, even if you're a school district or you're not ready yet, to say like, I want to do better in these domains, and here's some tips and some tools to help you with that. So we're really trying to look at it from the system level as well as the individual level and give you those tools. But each of the facilitators will be reaching out to the respective districts. And those of you who are watching this online saying, oh, I wish I were there to put this in the chat, to say, how can we help? What do you need? And we'll meet you where you are and figure out what those steps might be for the remaining of this school year, as well as into next year, even though the pilot program is officially wrapping up then at the end of the summer. We still want to be a resource to you, after the pilot phase is over.
Yes, the facilitators are going to learn the corporate structure, because our facilitator certification program is built. It's a workplace wellness program. So it's geared at well-being for the workplace. And that includes, we always take a holistic perspective. It includes individuals as well as the corporate structure, because I've learned a long time as a conflict analyst that if I take 2 people in a conflict and I coach one person and I send them back into the environment, it ain't gonna last, right? So you do need to provide the organization with the resources. And so one of the things that I started doing early in my career was also bringing that supervisor in, and then talking to the larger team and saying, now these people no longer want to be in conflict. How are you going to support them? Because there are those people who were actually benefiting from the conflict. They were getting a kick out of it, and they would be the instigators and say, did you know Joyce said that about you? And bringing you stuff that you would not have even known. So it's very important. It's the same concept we put here. It's when you are doing all your self-care and you go into an environment that's unhealthy, it really does cause more stress. So we want to be able to do that. Primarily your domain and your, I don't know, your level of who you work with will determine on the relationships you have with the organizations as facilitators, but you will be learning in the facilitator program, because that's already built into the program, both the corporate and the individual wellness. And those of you who are becoming coaches will do more so with the individuals, and you can then be able to help to coach the leaders as well, because they're going to be like, oh, how do we do that, right? And so we have programs built there that you can learn about. You can also research other resources for them. So these are all the pieces. A lot of the coaching work happens really for the leaders, actually, because they have a lot on their plate. And this is a whole new concept for them. There isn't a lot of external resources to help them to do it. So they do need some support. And that's why we thought just giving you some sense of what the coaching happens. Who else? We had another comment in here. We have been without a contract for 140 days and are set to, may the Lord have mercy on you. That is not a good time to be out there, right? With the strike and the middle of winter and all of that. I just hope that you guys don't have to go into strike, but if that's what you need to do, everything is about leverage, right? And negotiation. So I will send up some positive thoughts that the decision makers can get their act together, so you guys don't have to go into strike. It's hard on everybody, hard on the students, hard on the people who have to be out there picketing. What is the live binder? Should the facilitators have access to this? Sharon, is the live binder link in here? Please remember to put it in here for them, because we will also be referring to that. So could you drop in Basecamp for me too, please, Sharon?
Basecamp, but it is a it's a secure because we're still in the pilot phase, and we need to have OSWI and OMAS have to approve before it's officially distributed. So I don't mean like have a gatekeeping and say you can't have access to these things, but unfortunately we need to protect the material until it's been approved. So we'll be sure that the people who need it will have access to it.
And my reason for looking is that because I want to be able to refer the facilitators back to different aspects of it that they can apply because it's already a resource you have. So how can we then apply it into what they're doing? And maybe this
Yes.
might be a good tool
No.
to use with, you know, you can use it as part of the assessment, you can use it as part of the wellness conversation. So for there, but I think I did get access to it one. It's just that
Oh, you'll
everything
get
is
it. I
all
just
over the
want to, I
place.
feel guilty telling the others that are on this call that, you know, we have this secret, this, you know, society. We can't break it.
Of course.
Once everything's out of the pilot phase though, you know, the goal is that we're leaving behind these resources. So the facilitators and definitely Joyce will have access to the live binder for sure. I just can't put it in the chat.
Okay, good, good. Makes perfect sense. All right. Any other questions?
April
I'm
had a
just going through the
question
chart. The
about
schools
becoming a
in
coach.
Canada not have students who work. Someone has a question about becoming a coach. If you want to become a coach, just email me, joyce@interpersonalwellness.com, and we'll get you set up to becoming a coach. Our coaching program does taking in consideration the whole system person. Our program is unique in terms of a wellness program that actually provides you with a model and structure. So, or yeah, just do that. Thank you so much. Email me on that. And I know some of you guys are taking the coaching training and you want to become coaches as well. If you will need to let us know this week so we can facilitate that as well. For the facilitators, if you want to become a facilitator and champion this work, this is your opportunity to join the program. I think we have new people starting, right, Sharon?
We have 4 new. We're actually going to be closing, like this is the last week we could take new people. And the commitment for this is, you know, above and beyond your own districts. Like that's why we're having regional teams supporting the work for the facilitation component of it. Of course, we'd love it if each district or each building even had their own staff wellness coordinators or their own staff wellness teams to really carry on this work and kind of do that train the trainer model within your building. So that's our hope. But we will be, we'll send out the video for this. We'll send out the resources that you've requested. I'll be sure to have Joyce's contact information for those of you who want to become individual coaches. And then we will let you know how to access your regional affiliates and facilitators if you have more questions and want that support and are ready to go. Yes.
And to say if you don't qualify for this program, these certifications are run all year long. We are a training company, so you can always contact us at another time if you're outside the program and the time frame, because it is a little late for us to be bringing in facilitators now, although we just started, I think we only just started in January. We started in December doing our onboarding and our orientation. And so they're starting 6 weeks behind. They're going to have a lot of work to catch up. And so it's good to close that off. But if you want to become facilitators down the road, the program is always going to be there. So, but for this batch that I'm working with, we need to really curb that so we can focus on moving forward. Yes.
All right. Well, I want to personally thank everyone again. I know an hour and a half of time when you're already doing 500 other things in your buildings is asking a lot. I appreciate the attention, the excitement. Joyce, as always, we're so grateful that you can bring your enthusiasm and knowledge and motivation. And we will definitely be in touch. And again, if you have other needs, I will be sure that my email is also in the chat. Feel free to reach out and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you. Be well. Bye, everyone.